Welcome to the BetHelper betting preview for today's game of Brazil versus the Ivory Coast, scheduled for Sunday the 28th of June at 7:30 p.m. So it's the evening kickoff. The venue here is Soccer City in Johannesburg, so we're going to be at altitude again. In the Asian handicap markets, the handicap is Brazil minus 0.75, Ivory Coast plus 0.75. Brazil have actually drifted here quite substantially. They were at 1.77 a couple of days ago. Then they went out to 1.84, and now they're at 1.89. And meanwhile, Ivory Coast have actually shortened as well. They went from 2.13 to 2.09 down to 1.96. So we might end up seeing a change in handicap, or the odds staying where they are at the moment. And the unders and overs market in Asia, the handicap went from 2.5 down to 2.25, and it's actually drifting now at the 2.25 level, so they're expecting a tight game there. At the betting exchanges, Brazil have actually drifted slightly as well. They were at 1.69, they're now 1.73, so drifting there slightly. Ivory Coast have actually shortened slightly. They've gone from 6.4 down to 6.2. So a bit of support there for the Ivory Coast. And the draw is also shortened, so another sign of support there. They went from 3.8 down to 3.75. And the unders and overs market has stayed the same, it's at 2.32. So again, the odds are a bit higher than the unders, so they're not expecting goals there in the betting exchanges, despite the quality in teams. Having a look at the numbers matched, it's only 315,000 matched so far. This will obviously jump up massively in the next 24 hours, where all the big movements are actually made. Brazil make up 86% of that total, so a lot of money on Brazil, so it's clear who their favourite is, and people are backing them even at current prices. Ivory Coast support has actually dropped off a little bit. It went from 9% down to 8%, so not much happening there for the Ivory Coast. And the draw, it's gone from 7% down to 6%, so again, there's not much happening there in the draw. Still more money coming in for Brazil, but I guess that's to be expected given their favourite tag for even the World Cup at this stage. The unders and overs, the overs only makes up 27% of the amount matched, so they're not expecting goals here either. Again, it's worth noting that the big movements will come in the next 24 hours, so you're going to have to get onto our Twitter account or something to get some updated information on these markets. Having a look at the bookmakers, they've got Brazil at 1.66. They've stayed there throughout the week, so not much movement there. Ivory Coast has actually drifted slightly. They were at 5.5 to now at 6s, so a bit of drift there on that. And meanwhile, the draw stayed stable at 3.6. And the unders and overs market at the bookies is at 2.15. So again, they're not really expecting goals, although it is a bit shorter than other games that we've seen. So having a look at the form, Brazil are in excellent form. They've won their last 6 games in a row, including that 2-1 victory over North Korea, which they had to work hard for, but in the end their quality showed out. People probably were expecting Brazil to beat North Korea 4-5 and 6-0. I certainly was expecting them to get at least 3 goals, and that I had the overs, so I was thankful of North Korea getting a historic goal there. Looking at Ivory Coast's form, they've pretty average form to say the least. They've 2 wins in the last 6 games, 2 draws and 2 losses. One of those draws came in the World Cup against Portugal. It was a 0-0 draw. It was pretty, they were fair really. Ivory Coast really missed Drogba, who started on the bench for that one. They don't really have any goal scorers. Dindan was their starting striker there, so any Premiership watchers will know that he's not the best quality. So hopefully Drogba will be starting this one, so we'll actually have a chance of some goals. This will be our first head-to-head meeting, so another bit of history being made here for another African side. Brazil have won all 5 World Cup games versus the African sides, and in each of those games they've kept clean sheets. So we'll see if they can do the same against the Ivory Coast, where by many are Africa's best team. They certainly have some of the bigger names in world football, like Drogba and the Toure brothers. Maicon had the most touches of any player in the first round, so Brazil really utilise him in terms of setting up their attacking plays, either going and runs himself, feeding the ball into feet of Luis Fabiano and Robinho and Kaká, going wide and providing crosses or even taking shots, as he did have a number of shots in that game, so he's worth watching. Versus Portugal, was actually the Ivory Coast's first clean sheet at the World Cup, so a bit of history there despite a pretty awful match in all truth. After that Ronaldo strike off the post, there was nothing really to get the heart racing after that. Ivory Coast have kept 8 clean sheets in the last 16 competitive games, so that includes the Portugal game and their games from this year's Ivory Coast, or this year's African Cup of Nations even, sorry. In terms of rankings, Brazil are obviously number one. They're number one in the ELO rankings and they're number one in the FIFA rankings, so it's going to be a tough challenge for Ivory Coast to get anything from this game. They rank 27th on the world rankings, while they rank 26th on the ELO rankings, so pretty decent side here in good enough form based on their World Cup qualifying and their African Cup of Nations performance. The referee for this one is Stéphane Lenoy. He's from France, and he's refed 31 international games. And he's given 119 yellows, giving him an average of 3.84 yellows per game. So again, it's a better average, nothing major. He's given 4 red cards in those 31 games, giving an average of 0.13 reds per game. So again, that's really low, so you wouldn't expect a red here in this game. He's given 6 penalties, giving him an average of 0.19 per game, so again, nothing to suggest that he likes giving penalties or anything like that. He actually refed the game between the Netherlands and Denmark on Monday, and he gave 3 yellows in that, 2 to the Netherlands while he gave 1 to Denmark. No reds and no penalties there, so he's sticking to his stats there. There's no major injury worries for either side. Obviously, the only injury that's of note is Drogba, whether he's fit enough to start or if we'll see him on the bench again. He has got dispensation to wear that protective cast on his injured arm, so he came on against Portugal, so maybe he'll be fit enough to start this time. In terms of goals scored in qualifying, Brazil have an average of 1.83 goals scored per game, while they conceded an average of 0.61 per game. So pretty decent record there from them. The Ivory Coast, they were a pretty poor group in qualifying, so they actually had an average of 3.16 goals scored per game, while they've an average of 0.66 goals conceded per game. So yeah, pretty decent stats there, but the standard they were up against was pretty poor. Looking at the probabilities, the computer probabilities give Brazil a 72% chance of a victory, while the bookies only have them at 58%. So despite their low odds, it looks like Brazil are still value at their current prices. The computer probabilities only has Ivory Coast at a 14% chance compared to the bookies 16%. So that's pretty fairly priced, and the draw comes in at 40% on the computed probabilities, while at the bookies it's 26%. So obviously the bookies are covering themselves again with the draw being a little bit higher than what it should be. In terms of suggestions, Brazil still look like good value based on the computed probabilities, so maybe you might look there. The Ivory Coast on the Asian handicaps could be a good bet. There is a bit of support for them in Asia, and it will be a tight game, so them plus 0.75 goals could be a huge factor, so that might be worth looking at. The unders is also coming for a good bit of support on the exchanges, the bookmakers, and in Asia, so again, looking in the next 24 hours. We'll see where the money goes. In this one, I'd look to lay the red given this ref's low percentages. So check out twitter.com/BetHelper and leave any comments below. Thanks.